Takeshima, which belongs to Okinoshima town in Shimane Prefecture, is clearly an inherent territory of Japan based on historical facts and international law.
Rising tension over China's latest military moves around Taiwan. Both Japan and South Korea now find themselves on edge as they monitor increasingly frequent military activities in their neighborhood. Both nations scrambled fighter jets on December 9th in response to a coordinated Sino-Russian bomber patrol, underscoring just how seriously they viewed the latest show of force in the skies. Two Russian Tu-95 Bear turboprop bombers reportedly flew south from the Sea of Japan into the East China Sea, tracing a path that brought them close to the airspace of key U.S. allies. After flying between Japan and South Korea, the Russian aircraft then linked up with two Chinese H-6 series bombers, turning the mission into a joint patrol that highlighted growing military cooperation between Moscow and Beijing. This development was reported on December 9th by the defense outlet The War Zone, which has closely tracked recent Chinese and Russian aerial maneuvers in the region. The joint drills came just days after Japan accused Chinese warplanes of locking their fire control radar onto Japanese jets, a move Tokyo condemned as dangerous, provocative, and escalatory. A radar lock is considered one of the most threatening actions that can be taken against an aircraft in flight, because it indicates that the jet has been specifically targeted by a weapon system. Such a radar lock is widely seen as being only one step away from the actual launch of a missile at the targeted plane, making it a hate-trigger moment in any aerial confrontation. China denied Japan's accusations, insisting instead that Japanese jets had entered what Beijing described as a Chinese Navy training area, and claiming that its own forces acted within their rights. This face-off came only days after Japan's Prime Minister had publicly warned that Tokyo could come to Taiwan's aid if China launched an invasion, a statement that further angered Beijing. Prime Minister Sanai Takeichi's offer of potential military support to Taiwan infuriated Chinese officials, who accused Japan of interfering in what they consider an internal Chinese matter. Japan's defense ministry said, quote, "They then conducted a long-distance joint flight from the East China Sea to the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Shikoku. The bombers were joined by four Chinese J-16 Flanker multi-role fighter derivatives when these bombers flew back and forth between Okinawa Island and Miyako Island. In response, fighter jets from the Japan Air Self-Defense Forces Southwest Air Defense Command and other units were scrambled," unquote. After the patrol, Russian bombers reportedly flew back along the same route they had used earlier in the day, while the Chinese H-6 bombers turned and headed back toward bases in mainland China. South Korea, for its part, said it dispatched fighter jets when the Chinese and Russian aircraft entered its air defense identification zone, signaling its determination to monitor and challenge any such incursions. The South Korea military said, quote, "Two Chinese military planes and 7 Russian aircraft successively entered the Kadiz at around 10 a.m., prompting the military to dispatch Air Force fighter jets in preparation for a possible accidental situation," unquote. Meanwhile, trouble is also brewing between the two regional U.S. allies themselves, with tensions rising between Japan and South Korea over an old territorial dispute. Japan's Prime Minister Sanai Takeichi recently stated that an island claimed by South Korea is in fact part of Japan, reigniting a long-running sovereignty controversy between the neighbors.
Takeshima, which belongs to Okinoshima town in Shimane Prefecture, is clearly an inherent territory of Japan based on historical facts and international law. Based on this fundamental position, we will continue to respond resolutely.
South Korea has responded by firmly reaffirming its sovereignty over what it calls Dokdo Island, rejecting Japan's claims and vowing to defend its control over the territory. At the same time, fears that China may be actively preparing for a possible invasion of Taiwan have grown stronger in recent weeks, fueled by repeated military drills and sharper rhetoric. Chinese President Xi Jinping strongly raised the theme of reunification with Taiwan in a recent call with U.S. President Donald Trump, framing the island's future as a core national priority for Beijing. Beijing continues to insist that Taiwan is an inseparable part of China that must eventually be reunified with the mainland, and it has pointedly refused to rule out the use of force if necessary. Japan has warned that any Chinese use of force against Taiwan would amount to a survival-threatening situation for Japan itself, signaling that a Taiwan conflict could draw Tokyo directly into a wider regional crisis.
25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.